All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kenson Pribble. Back in August, I and my family went on a vacation to Hawaii. And while I was there, I stopped by the Brigham Young University Hawaii campus and gave a presentation on how to become a powerhouse networker. Um, and what the content that I presented to them was well received. We had a good group, around 20 participants. It was really awesome. Made a lot of great connections. And during that presentation, I made a promise that I would create some content or do something further to help those who connected with me on LinkedIn. So I thought of two things that I wanted to do for you. The first was I was going to actually do a re-recording of my presentation that I gave in Hawaii. And the initial thought here was for those who knew someone who wasn't able to attend, they could share it with them and let them watch the presentation. Might also serve for those who want to just go through and revisit the presentation and the content that I shared. It's there for you to do so. So I'll have this saved. It'll be a private video that can be shared via the link that will be shared with you. And so this is the first of two videos I want to share. So now the second one that I'm going to be sharing with you will be coming here after, and that's going to go into the more granular aspects of how to be a more powerhouse or to facilitate and participate in a powerhouse networking group. So look forward to that video as well. So this is the first of two, and yeah, so that's just a quick introduction. I'm now going to flip over to the presentation and walk through that content so that you guys have it. So hope you enjoy. Alrighty, let me go back to the beginning here. Okay, so like I just said at the beginning, my name is Kenson Pribble. I'm going to do a quick little introduction to my family here. And there's a reason why I put this slide first in my presentation. A lot of times in school, we get super focused on, our careers, preparing ourselves for the career going forward, and the successes we want to have in our lives, and the impact we want to make in the world. And in hindsight now, having been in my career um, 10 years now, I look back and realize that so much of my life was not part of my career. Those parts that I look back on with fondness and joy and happiness and fulfillment came from my family. Um, just the process of finding my wife or the life that we've chosen to live, the children we've welcomed into this world. That is where my true happiness and success in life has come from. That's not to say that I haven't had a lot of successes in my career to this point, and I look forward to further ones in the future. But it's a means to end, which centers around my family. So my career is there to help facilitate um, a life worth living with my family and the adventures we take on, but also to impact the world for good. But um, this is the core of my motivations and where I have found true success and fulfillment in life is here with my family. So it's my wife Jana and our four rambunctious little kiddos that keep us busy day in and day out. But this was a little over a year ago, and they're just as rambunctious now as they were in this picture. So real quick, in terms of what I want to cover today, I'll talk a little bit about my career background. We're going to go into Powerhouse Networking, explaining the usefulness of power statements and how we incorporate those into our job hunts or career advancement steps. Speak a little bit in regards to employer expectations, and then finally, last but not least, the harnessing the powers of heaven and in your path forward. So, if you want to pause this and read through kind of these further details, you're welcome to, but I won't be doing that on the call today. So, jumping into my career background, I have found my niche more into the data governance side of in banking. And so this is a quick little recap of the last 10 years or so of my career. To give you a little bit of background, I graduated from BYU Hawaii. I got a degree in investment finance. I didn't know necessarily what I wanted to do with that, but I knew that I loved numbers and money and finance, and it was more the backbone of business in general. So I've always had this little entrepreneurial spirit about me with it all. But the problem that I had was I really didn't put a lot of focus or effort into networking prior to graduating. And so when I graduated, I graduated in 2011. The labor market was tight in that the impacts of 2008, the financial crisis in 2008, was hitting the pocketbooks of corporations, and a lot of companies were just in hiring freezes. And so that combined with the fact that I really didn't do much networking prior to graduation, I started at zero. So I started a company. They just let me do a free volunteer internship in marketing to do some work for them. Um, and then I just landed that, and I continued forward trying to find a better opportunity. I continued to always try to find something better. And so you can see here the some 12, 13 or so. Let's see how many companies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different companies, more roles in there as well. But that's all within the last 10 years. So somewhat turbulent in terms of, people look at this and like, oh my goodness, it's changing all the time. But in reality, that's how you get bonuses and pay raises now. You don't stick around the same company very very long before you find somewhere else that's going to pay you more. So that's what the path that I've taken, and it's given me a lot of success here. One thing I want to point out, though, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor here, but I started at zero, and we have a pretty linear line here going across. What if I'd started at 40 or 60 or $80,000 instead? Where would I be now? Would I be somewhere up here? Um, that's just something I want to point out here in this visual. Is I started at zero because I failed to do the work that I needed to beforehand to get the job when I graduated. Now, that doesn't say I didn't do well in my classes. I had a really great GPA. I did really well in my classes. Did a number of different projects that opened a few doors for me, but I really didn't do the work that I needed to during school beyond my classes to really land myself an awesome opportunity. So let me just kind of keep going here a little bit. Just kind of point out here, these orange circled jobs or companies that I worked for, these were companies that I was able to get a job with because of networking. These are ones that once I had done a little bit of some different cool projects and put them up on my LinkedIn and what have you, these are the opportunities that came to me just, recruiters coming and approaching me for opportunities. So it's just kind of interesting. Here you're building up the projects you've worked on, the experience you've had, and this is what I was doing here. And then here's where the recruiters were seeing those projects and then reaching out to me for job opportunities. Another thing to point out, what if I'd done those different projects before while I was at school and documented them properly on LinkedIn and on my resume? Would that ought to have also advanced my career and had recruiters reaching out to me instead of me having to hunt them out? That's a good question, and I don't know the answer to it, but my suspicion was, or is now, that if I had done a lot of these similar projects during my undergraduate studies, I would have had a lot more opportunities coming to me and finding me earlier on in my career. So there's a little 2 cents pitch there for you. One other thing I want to point out to you is not a single job that I've gotten, I got because I submitted a resume. So a lot of people think about, okay, I'm gonna go find the job posting, I'm gonna research the company, tailor a resume for that job position. I'm gonna put together a beautiful cover letter. I'm gonna do all that, and then I'm gonna submit it and cross my fingers, right? If I get an interview, I'm gonna send a follow-up little letter to the hiring manager saying thank you so much and this and that. But that's great, and that stuff. I mean, those are things I guess you should do. But if you do that, if that's all you do, you're not going to get a job. Um, it's just not going to happen. I mean, the statistical likelihood is like almost null when you get down to the nit and gritty. You need to find connections with people. You need to build relationships with people at those companies. And then when you apply, you need to leverage those relationships and ask for favors um, for them to help refer you in. The reason I say this is um, it carries so much more weight. Now, keep this in mind as well. When somebody, um, I didn't know this beforehand, but companies love internal referrals. They have a job opening, someone on their team knows somebody who'd be really good at it. They make the referral. They'd rather hire that person over anybody else just because of that relationship that they have. I didn't know this. And companies know this, or companies like these referrals so much that they're actually willing to give bonuses to employees that refer people. So knowing that now, I love to reach out to people and say, hey, I'm looking for work. I'm looking for this opportunity. I saw this at the company. Would you mind referring me? And they are more than happy to do so. To give you an idea, when I got hired onto Goldman Sachs, it was at my referral. Actually, I ran into him at my graduation from my MBA class, or my MBA studies. Told him what I was up to, and he's like, I know of something, let me submit your resume for you. I'm like, that'd be great. And it led me to an opportunity there at Goldman. So, I mean, just keep that in mind. You want to know, you want those connections at the companies. You want that relationship. If you don't, then it's going to be hard to get a job. So just real recaps here. Talk to you about that. Talk to you about that. Um, One thing that has helped me, just I failed to mention that little um, when I spoke on the last slide, is that I took on projects that people didn't want to take. They'd have a problem, and I didn't know if I could do or fix it, but I told them I was willing to try. And after doing so, it led to some really cool power projects that I made into power statements that I slapped on my resume, on my LinkedIn, and which got me further jobs down the road. So look for these opportunities to take on challenging projects and realize that those are incredible opportunities for further opportunities down the road. All right, we got that covered too. So let me just, I think I skipped one. Here we go. All right, here we go. So Powerhouse Networking, that's what we're going to talk about next. And this is the core of what's going to get you a job. Now, as a prelude here, I want to point out something in here real quick. When I was in Hawaii, one of my thoughts was this. I'm in the middle of the ocean. A few companies come out here and network with me. I don't have a great opportunity. I'm just going to wait till after I graduate to really network when I'm closer to people and what have you. That is one of the biggest mistakes I made in my undergraduate studies. Okay? So I want to give you guys some perspective here. You are on an island that is coveted by everyone in the world that knows about it. People with money love to go to Hawaii on vacation. So you have people who are obviously successful in life going to Hawaii for a vacation. And they're there with their families, and they're probably getting tired of playing with their kiddos and they need a little break, and you're there and you start talking with them on the beach and you make a connection, and oh my goodness, you're the CEO of the company, or you're the HR manager, or you're some whatever it might be. That is what you have at your disposal. Okay, go tell mom. Okay, thanks. caveat here, I'm doing this video in my basement. My kiddos are here, so if you hear me popping in and out, that's what's happening. So I apologize, but if they need something, I need to be able to respond to them. So to give you an idea here, I was just in Hawaii. I had the opportunity. I was on the beach with my family. There's a couple that sat down 30 yards from us or whatever. It was not a lot of people on the beach where we were at. But my kids were playing. They saw a turtle in the water. They were taking pictures of it as well. And I thought, maybe I'll just go talk to these people. I'd caught a crab. I was holding a crab, and I walked over and I just said, "Hey, look, I found a crab." And we started this conversation and talked to them about the turtle in the water and where they're from. They're from Italy. And turns out, so after that, I had a good conversation, good time talking. I connected up with them on LinkedIn, and it turns out that this individual that I connected with is an HR manager of a large corporation in France that does, I think, medical work, medical devices or something like that. Solid connection, all because I was willing to go up and show them a crab that I found, right? And hold a good conversation with them, make friends, and move on, right? Because I was willing to do that, I have that connection now. And so that was just at random, right? There are people there all over the place, and you guys have an incredible opportunity to take advantage of that and really build your network while you're there in Hawaii. So what I'm going to talk to you about now, you can find this material in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints self-reliance book, Finding a Better Job. Now, these skill sets are also applicable for starting a business, developing a career path. So if you are not really looking for a job, but you want to do something else like a project or an internship, or get exposure to doing, do I want to be an anesthesiologist? Go to a job shadow. Like, same principles apply for any advancement in your career path. So I don't want you guys to think of, I'm just doing this to get a job. No, you need to do this approach for advancing your career in whatever step or stage you might be in. How is Powerhouse Networking going? So when I was in the room, I like to look around. I had everyone look around and say, ask them these different questions. We're not going to do that now because you can do this by yourself if you want, or think of one of your classmates or your classes that you're in, what the classmates are there. But we're going to skip that for now. So the 15-10-2 approach. Now let me give you a little background to this approach. I was first introduced to this networking approach back when I was first laid off in my career. I was newly wedded, I just married, a month into marriage, and I get laid off. Not the greatest, thing in the world when your in-laws are looking, your parents are looking. It's all on you now. You're supporting your wife, and this and that. There's a lot of pressure, and I spent 3 months just hitting the pavement, doing my traditional try to find a job approach, which is typically, searching for the job opportunities, building the resumes, doing the cover letters, submitting the resumes, talking to people or whatever a little bit. I had 2 interviews in 3 months, and I was getting depressed. I was getting overwhelmed. I was just thinking to myself, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm a failure. And finally, my wife turned to me and said, "Hey, you need to go to the church, resource center, and they have this networking group that I know, someone that I know is involved in. You should go participate." So I dragged my feet a little bit, and I said, "I don't want to do it." And she said, "You're going," so I went. And so I went to this, and I was absolutely blown away. This networking group was a group of 12 to 15 individuals who met daily, who were in a similar situation as I, and they were, every single day, they were striving to hit these numbers. They were going and saying, 15 was, I'll explain these here in a second, but this group was there to meet together, do a little spiritual thought. They reported on their efforts from the day before, and then they shared referrals and said, "Hey, Sam, I found somebody who you might want to talk to. He's in investment banking, and I know you're looking at investment banking. Here's your referral." guy's like, oh, that's great. Thank you so much. And it was just amazing. And not only that, but as they're reporting their numbers, these guys were in the room, these guys and gals were saying, look, I have 2 interviews today. I had 1 interview yesterday, but I'm waiting for an offer from a company that I interviewed from last week. I'm going to say no to this other offer that I got. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, this guy's had 3 interviews this week alone. He has 2 more lined up. He has 1 offer on the table and he's waiting for another offer. I'm just like, what is going on here? And I realized, I'm like, you know what? I don't know what they're doing, but I want to be a part of this. I want to do this. I want to have the same success that they're having. So I decided to follow this same approach, and I did my very best to hit these numbers. And what was amazing is within a couple weeks, I was the one with 2 interviews a day. I was the one with an offer on the table. And then I was the one that also had the second offer come in, right? All within like 23 days. Now, what was really cool about this group was not only were they doing this, but they were tracking the success of the program. The church was running a pilot saying, we need to do something to get these people back to work and finding success. Because if you're, finding success and money's coming in, a lot of other things balance out in your life, and it needs to be working for you. And so they were doing this pilot program called AJS, Accelerated Job Search. And it followed this networking approach. I think back then it was 10-10-2. So 10, what it is 10 resources, 10 contacts, and 2 of those contacts have to be face-to-face. So in essence, what they changed it to is, so we have 15 resources, which can be, there's anything that you find that can advance your career advancement, whether it's a job shadowing opportunity or a new career path that you didn't know about before, a website of a company that you're interested in, a person you meet on the beach, right? These are resources. 10 is the contact. So you've gone to the website, you spoke to the person on the beach, you visited, some new store that has whatever, right? You take action respective to those resources. And then 2 is face-to-face or over the phone. So you talk to the person face-to-face on the beach. Here's your first face-to-face for the day, right? There's, hey, you called someone on the phone and said, hey, do you mind if I do a job shadow, right? Doing those like over the phone or face-to-face, those were the 2. Now, they were tracking these numbers. So all the participants participated. New people would come, other people would leave as they got jobs, and they were tracking how long it took them to get a job. And on average, it was like 33 days they had an offer that they accepted. And those offers back 10 years ago averaged around $85,000 a year in compensation, which, that's a lot for a new grad for sure. It's not bad for, now. But back then for me, I'm like, dude, that's a lot of money. That's more than money than I'd ever made in my life. And so I'm grateful for this program. I am a firm advocate of it, and it works. Okay, so I'm going to explain it to you now and kind of work through these different things. And I want to help you guys follow this approach so that you guys find the successes you need in your career advancement. Whether that's getting an internship or getting a job offer or finding a powerhouse project you can work on to put on your resume, or if it's a job shadow, or just figuring out what career path you want to take. You can use this approach to be able to help in all those areas. All right, so kind of explain this here real quick. But if you guys want to review this, you can. One thing that I want to point out here is, as you follow this approach, one of the things that's most powerful about it is if you are truly committed to hitting 15, 10, 2, these numbers, your fear fades away. I was terrified of networking. I was terrified of talking to people and like having them judge me and being like, make these awkward moments or whatever. But what this did for me when I started following this approach was make the 15-10-2 a game. I was in the elevator. I needed one more contact and a few more resources. And I'm like, I got to talk to this person. I just walked in the elevator. And so I would strike up a conversation. What do you do? What's your name? Whatever. And I'd get that last contact. Um, and some of those led to opportunities for me. And so that's the power of this. Right now, you're afraid. You're like, I don't want to do this. I don't need to do this right now. To push it down the road. I can network later. All these thoughts are based around the fact that you're afraid, right? You're afraid to commit to doing this. It's not easy, right? But if you do and you really get into it and you have people with you doing it as well, making it kind of a competition or a game or whatever, the fear fades away and it becomes powerful. So a little way to visualize this, you have all these resources you find, the contacts you make, the face-to-face ones, the interviews, the offers, and then finally you get your job or whatever it is you might have. So I'm going to give you an example here. This is something that could be very attainable for anyone at the university. I don't care how heavy your load is, you can make this happen, right? So you talk to a friend and ask what their parents do for work. They tell you their father is in investment banking and their mother is a nurse. They provide you their parents' emails to contact them. You email them and ask to set up a call. Their father replies and agrees to a call. You email him back and set up the time. You hold the call and learn more about investment banking, the company he works for, and he informs you of 2 open entry-level positions he thinks you should apply to if you are interested. He gives you the company's website where you can apply and tells you to address your application to Jeff Stringer, one of the partners of the firm. You visit the website, review the positions, and find 2 articles about the company you would like to review the next day. You choose to apply to one of the open positions and submit your application. This, in total, might take an hour and a half of your day. Okay? Maybe. Yeah, it might be spread out throughout the day, but really, it's not taking a lot of time. You can make a shorter lunch or a dinner and make this happen, right? But let's take a look and see, how many resources, contacts did you just make? Well, let's take a look. We got our 2 face-to-face. We have 15 new resources that you had in that short amount of time. You had 10 contacts, and 2 of those were face-to-face. You hit 15-10-2 by simply talking to one of your friends about their parents' work and doing these small steps, right? And not only that, but you got a seriously strong referral from someone that works at the company. You got some strong names. You can reach out to these other people, right? This is not just a make-believe thing. This type of stuff happens. If you think about it, let's say, you talk to your friend. She's a girl, and this is her dad. She calls out her dad and said, "Hey, Dad, I have a friend who wants to learn more. Could you help him?" Here's Daddy helping his princess daughter with something. He doesn't know you from Adam, but he doesn't care. He wants to help his daughter and make her happy. And so he's going to bend over backwards to help you, right? This is not unheard of. This is the type of thing that happens when people open their mouth and choose to make this a priority and network. So let me just point something out to you. One of the things that I got the sense of when I was as a student was I looked at all my peers, and it was almost like we're competing for a good grade, especially if they, the highest score got the A, the lowest score got the C, whatever however they do the classes. And so we were always competing, right? And so there was somewhat of a sense of like, if I help you, then I might not do as well, whatever it might be, right? And not only that, but here's one job, or Goldman Sachs comes to town and there's 10 openings and 100 people applying. Who's going to actually help each other get the job when you want it, right? And it's like this competition in the sense of like, I'm not going to help someone else network. when I need the job myself, right? Well, think of this. Let's say that we got how many is this? Eight students together, and they all chose to participate in this new networking group, right? So new networking working group. I don't remember what this NWG stands for, but here's the first networking group. Oh, networking group. That's what it is. There we go. So we have one networking group of 8 students. They're all committed to hitting 15-10-2 or some version of that 15-10-2. We'll talk about later. Everyone's going to participate. They're all going to do their best to find stuff for other people, whatever it might be. So every single day, we got 15 resources identified by each person. That's 120 per day. That's 840 per week. That's 3,640 per month, right? Versus some other guy out here in the corner who maybe does it willy-nilly on the side, right? Where would you want to be? Do you want to be out here on the side, or do you want to be a part of this group who is a powerhouse group working together to help each other to find success, right? I want to be in here. I want to be a part of this group. And it might be something different. I mean, maybe you guys can't commit to 15-10-2, but you guys could commit to, let's say, 7-3-1, right? Some variation, some level of participation, you guys could do this. And if you did, those students who do that, they're the ones who walk away with solid offers and bonus offers, like bonuses just to commit to coming onto the company. They're the ones that have multiple options to choose from. They're the ones that find success. They're the ones that really take on life after graduation. Everyone else ends up having to start from scratch, and usually they don't get very far. They don't leverage their degree as best they can, and they don't really go as far as they should. So anyway, now think of this. What if we started having multiple networking groups? And not only that, but maybe we make them themed around, like, here is the finance or investment group. Here is the childhood education, whatever thing. Or here's the medical team group, right? Think how powerful that would be to be a part of those groups. Now the question is okay, we start doing that networking, but then you get talking to somebody on the beach. What do you talk about to yourself? I'm a student. I think I know what I want to do. I know how to use Excel. Whatever it is, right? What are you going to talk about? What are you going to do on that beach to really hook the interest of that person on the beach? What are you going to put in your resume so that when a hiring manager has 30 seconds to look at your resume, he gets hooked and says, I want to bring this person in because I want to know more of his story. And what are you going to say in the elevator when you have 30 seconds with somebody who you meet, and there's the opportunity? What do you say, right? That's where power statements come in. And what we're going to do now is kind of go through and explain what those are. So a power statement is very easy. I mean, to make it super easy, don't overcomplicate it. It's a very short story of something that you've accomplished or done that you feel kind of is cool or just defined who you are in some way, right? Something you've accomplished, something that's impressive. I learned how to do a backflip on the wakeboard, or I learned how to surf. Like, maybe that's what you got to work with because you haven't done anything yet, right? Maybe it is, hey, I went to Turtle Bay and offered to do a free marketing analysis for them, and was able to do X, Y, and Z and help them tweak their algorithms in such a way that they made $10 more million the next year, whatever, right? These are powerhouse. These are events. These are things that you've done that you've gone above and beyond that show an employer that, wow, this person's worth hiring. He's worth having on my team, or she's worth having on my team because they are going to help solve my problems. So where can you use them? Resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, elevator pitches. LinkedIn is huge. There are people hired to find you, and they can't if they don't know the stories you have to tell. And so getting these power statements on your LinkedIn profile is huge, so that when they see it, they can read through and be like, dude, I want to get this guy in front of this hiring manager, because if I do, I'm going to get this big fat commission, right? They're out there trying to make money, and they're finding you if you put your information up. These power statements are not to tell the whole story. They're there to hook the interest. And I guess let me talk a little bit about this. So think of like a credit card advertisement, right? You want your resume or your LinkedIn profile or whatever it is to resemble more the advertisement. It says like, hey, 0% financing, this and that, whatever. You want it to resemble that, not the fine print, right? If you read through your resume and it feels more like you're reading the fine print of a credit card statement, there's a problem. If it feels more like an advertisement of you, then you're on the right track, right? Another thing that's kind of fun is if you get these power statements in a resume that you use for an application, guess what? You're the one leading the conversation during the interview, right? How cool would it be if before the interview you knew the very questions and topics you'd be talking about in the interview? That'd be huge. It'd be amazing, right? Well, that's what you do with your resume. You trim it down to where you have these really good power statements that are really cool and you hook their interest, and there's nothing else for them to look at. And then all of a sudden, that's what they can ask you about in your interview. Tell me about this time you did this work at Turtle Bay. What was this all about? This seems like really impressive. Talk to me more about it. And you can, right? You've prepared yourself. So I'll let you kind of go through this. It's a lot of times it's hard for us to brag about our abilities and who we are. We're kind of in the church where we want to be humble, modest, and what have you. We're taught that from a really young age. And so when you kind of say, hey, look how cool I am, it feels weird. But here's the reality. If you are really cool and you've done really cool, amazing things, and you say you're not cool, you're being prideful. Okay? Think of that. It goes in both directions. If you're really not cool and you say you are, you're being prideful. If you're super awesome and you don't acknowledge it, you're kind of being prideful as well. It's kind of a weird way to look at it, but think about Jesus Christ. He came to earth. He's like, I am Jesus Christ. I have atoned for your sins. I am your Savior. He didn't downplay it. He's like, this is who I am, right? He's not doing it for glory and gloating and all that stuff. But he acknowledged who he was, and that is what you need to do. You need to be awesome, and you need to be able to show that and explain that to somebody else in a way that brings glory to God, right? The Lord needs you to be awesome. He needs you to be a sharp, skilled person. He needs you to be out there in the world doing incredible things. And hiding from who you are is not what he wants you to do. He wants you to present yourself in a professional way and to be able to get a lot done. So here's a question. How do you craft a power statement? It's really easy. And I kind of just talked about that. It's super easy. Don't get overwhelmed by it. But here's a few different questions to talk about. It can help you lead your conversation. What was achieved? What was the background that surrounded what you did? What was the struggle that you overcame, the problem you solved, or the challenge you took on? And then make sure to end it with, as a result, this is what happened. This was the benefit gained. Now, this is the exercise I want you to do if you wanted to build a power statement. Take anything cool that you feel like you did in your life and follow these steps. What you want to do is write out the whole story, okay? And take as many pages as you need. Get the details in there, get granular. And then once you've done that, once you're comfortable getting the whole story down, if it takes 3 pages, that's fine. Take those 3 pages and rewrite it again, but in 1.5 pages. And then do it again in 3/4 of a page. And then do it in half again. And then and then half again and half again until you're left with just like 3 sentences. The reason I say this is there's twofold. One, you're left with your power statement. If you do this process, you will be left with a power statement that is the shortest version of that story that you can make, right? And that's what you include in your resumes, on your LinkedIn, or whatever it might be, right? But it also does another thing. It teaches you how to tell your story quickly. If you've got 30 seconds, you share your power statement. So that's like in an elevator, on your resumes, whatever it is. If they want to know more, you then open it up just a little bit and say, well, and you explain the half a page version, right? Or whatever it might be. Maybe it's the 6 sentence version. And then if they need to even know more, you know the whole story from the granular all the way up to the high level, super, super short version. And so depending on how much time you have, you can tell the story effectively, given the circumstances that you're in. That is why it's so powerful, and you need to follow this process to make a powerful power statement. It's frustrating, but it's so powerful. And if you do it correctly, people get hired on good stories. People get hired on storytelling, right? That is just the reality of it. And if you can master it, it's awesome. So practice, practice, practice. Do this, and you will find tremendous success in your networking. Here are just a few of the examples of some of the ones that I've put together for my resume and my LinkedIn. You can read this on your own time. I'm not going to do so now. Okay, so now we're going to go into a little bit more of the fun, lighthearted parts here. So, like, what are employers expecting from you? You're a new graduate. They know you likely haven't done, professional work. And if you have, that's awesome. You should be. During your undergraduate years, you need to be out there exploring. You need to be doing projects. You need to be doing these things in addition to your studies or as part of your studies to build up your resume, build up your power statements, build up your portfolio of work that you've done, right? You need to do that. But they're not going to expect a new graduate to be at that level, right? But some things to keep in mind. This is kind of a funny one, I thought. Forget your resume, son. Let's just take a look at what you've posted on Facebook instead. This will happen. And if you've put a lot of content on there that's inappropriate or whatever it might be, you're going to be judged on that. To give you an idea as well, this is also true for dress and grooming. You think your dress and grooming standards are strict at the honor code? Just realize that when I was at Goldman Sachs, they were very strict with how you dressed, to the point where if you chose to not follow the modesty standards, which were probably more strict than they are at BYU Hawaii, you could be let go. It's not a joke, and they take it seriously. And so some companies might not care, but if they get on your Facebook and you have a bunch of pictures that show you that you're just out partying or dressing inappropriately or doing things, they're going to realize that you are about to represent their company, and they may not hire you. This is a job for, and it falls down, for someone else, right? They want your ambition. They know that you're probably going to struggle and fall on your face. Don't give up, right? Here's Calvin Hobbes. Calvin's giving up. I don't want to do this. They know that don't be afraid to take on something, fail, and learn from it. They want you to try stuff. They want you to learn and grow. So don't be intimidated if you don't know everything. They want passion. They want you to find success as much as you do. So are you generally passionate? Do you have some level of competency? Are you a quick learner and willing to take on a challenge? Can they trust you? Are you going to be a pain in the butt? These are questions that someone who's thinking when they choose to hire someone. This is from a company that I worked for in the past, a highly respected financial institution, one of the most respected in the world. I won't say the name of it, but I'm sure you guys could probably guess. You don't need to know anything about finance to apply to work here. Now, this is a financial institution, right? We can teach you everything you need to know. Instead, show me a time where you were the best at something and what you did to achieve it. In other words, they're saying, show us your awesome power statements. I interviewed 3 times with Goldman Sachs before I actually got a job. I mean, 3 different sessions, right? So first time was on campus. I totally flopped on my face. Super reserved, super like downplayed my accomplishment, whatever. I did not do good. I didn't get the job. But the reason I got an interview was because I did some statistical analysis work as part of my classes there at Hawaii for Turtle Bay. We did some analysis for them, trying to identify some issues in their operations, and you know, I put that on my resume, and they loved it. They brought me in because of that statement. Later on, when I interviewed with Goldman Sachs, I went in with a power statement resume, and the interview started with some kind of like basic get to know you questions, and I turned to him and said, you know what, I can answer your questions all you want, that's just fine. We only have 15 minutes or a half hour in this interview. I have these really cool stories I love to tell you that are applicable to this job. Would you like me to walk you through those? And they just kind of threw their pencil and paper down and said, go for it, man. Let's do it. And I did. I aced it. I was walked out of Goldman Sachs, down the elevator, out the door, kind handshake from the hiring manager saying, please keep us in mind as you're making a decision. We'll let you know real quickly. Like, they loved me, right? So I went from absolutely failing at, interviewing at Goldman Sachs to acing the interviews, right? And I got an offer from Goldman Sachs that was probably 30% higher than my peers. Okay? So here's a company that's saying, show me a time where you've been the best at something and what you did to achieve it. And you know what? That's your power statements. That is what they're wanting. So they're asking us, saying, give us your power statements. That was what we wanted to hear and talk about. Okay, so the last section here that I want to talk to you guys about is harnessing the powers of heaven. Now, here's just some fun scriptures. Put the Lord first in your life. Before you seek for riches, seek ye the kingdom of God. After you have obtained a hope in Christ, you'll obtain riches if you seek them. Not you might, you shall, right? And you shall seek them for the intent to do good, to clothe the naked, to feed the hungry, and to liberate the captive, and administer relief to the sick and the afflicted. So my question to you is this. Here's the promise. The Lord blesses you. He's going to say, what are you going to do with these blessings I've given you? Are you going to do good with them? Are you going to clothe the naked, feed the hungry, liberate the captive? You name it, right? And the question is are you doing this now? He's already blessed you. Are you doing this now? And I promise you, I've experienced this. The more I've focused on using the resources I have, whether it's time and skill sets or my monetary resources to do these things, the more I am blessed and find success in my life. Right now, as I'm putting these presentations together for you guys, I feel as though I am liberating the captive, right? You guys need jobs. You need to find success. And so in a way, I'm using my skill sets now to help you guys the best I can. And that's one of the ways I can contribute back to you guys. Are you committed to following these more than getting good grades and passing your classes? To give you an idea here, I'm going to put these out there. I made a commitment early on in my schooling. I had been taught that if I put the Lord first, He would perform miracles in my life. And I'm not very good at learning. I struggled learning how to read. I probably had some different learning disabilities that were not diagnosed when I was younger, right? Like I struggled. And so going to school and college was a struggle. And I knew I needed the Lord's help. And so I turned to the Lord and said, Lord, I'm going to need your help in school. And I want to put you first so that I can have your blessings. I need your blessings. And so I committed to him. I'm like, you know what, Lord, I'm going to go to every devotional. I'm going to go to every family night or FHE thing with my school on campus and everything. I'm going to observe the Sabbath and fulfill my callings. I'm not going to do homework or study on Sundays. This will be your day. Um, and, I made that commitment to the Lord. And for the most part, it was easy. I could easily do it. It wasn't a terribly big problem. Um, but what I found out was one term, it was super, super difficult. Um, and that, that, um, that week or that term, I was just swamped. And I found that if I ended up having, um, I had this test that was coming up, and I had the choice of either doing my studies on Sunday or on Monday night, or not studying at all. Like, this literally happened to me. I was booked solid, and it came Sunday, couldn't do it. I said, I'm not going to do it. I've committed to you. Monday came around. I couldn't do anything until like right before, like family night. I'm like, I'm going to go to family night, and then I have a few minutes to study, and I'm going to go take this exam. And it was hard. It was a hard decision. And this was for a class where the whole grade was my exams. So if I failed this, I could, in theory, the highest grade I could get was a C. And so I I followed it. I committed to not doing it. I didn't study on Sunday. I didn't do it on Monday. I asked for a miracle. I'd done everything I could, but I just wasn't happening. I sat down in the library. I had 40 pages of text to go through. Thick textbook, 40 pages. And I kid you not, I'd go page by page and I'd get these promptings. You don't need that. Move on. I'd go to the next page. Read that again. Okay. Move on. Okay. You don't need this page. Okay. And that's how I studied for like 30 minutes before I took the exam. And it was one of the highest exams that I scored in that class that term. The Lord can perform miracles in your life. You need to trust Him. You need to put Him first, and He will. Okay, I think I got those. Yep, okay. Be generous with what you've been given, right? Here's the story about tithing, right? I want to talk to you about a story about my grandpa. He was a convert. His sons came to him and said, I want to go on missions, and there's three of them. The oldest one doesn't go on a mission. The dad says, don't go on a mission. Go get your education, and you can go on a mission after. Ends up going to school, gets married, doesn't go on a mission. My uncle comes. I'm going on a mission. What's wrong with you? Go to school. No, I'm going. Fine, I'll support you. My grandpa's income was here, and then with one missionary, went way up here. Then while my uncle was out, my dad comes to my grandpa and says, hey, I'm going on a mission. Same story. Go to school. No, I'm going on a mission. Fine, I'll support you. My grandpa's income goes up to here. Then my uncle comes home. Goes right here. Then my dad comes home. Comes here. At this point, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but at the far end here, with no missionary at the end, my grandpa was like, dang, I need to go find some missionaries to support, right? I and my wife have done the same thing. And we have seen the similar result from our blessings in our lives. We have not missed those donations. The Lord has blessed us. And I promise you, from my experience and my grandfather's, if you do this, you too will find the same or similar experiences. You will feel the blessings pour into your life. Here's a few other different verses that will give you hope and I really enjoy. And then I guess here's a fun one. Just don't let Don't let your successes distract you from the gospel, living the gospel. If the Lord blesses you, just keep loving Him and doing all you can to support His work and His efforts, and um, be like Job, right? Another real quick one is just taking care of your body. I cannot tell you, I have never taken a drink of coffee in my life. I have stayed away from caffeine. I regulate how much sugar I take into my body. I eat well. I take a multivitamin. I drink plenty of water. I get sufficient rest as best I can, right? And I have outperformed practically everyone that I've worked with, where they are on their third coffee by lunch and dragging their feet and just struggling day in and day out to get through the day or whatever. I'm waking up at 6 or earlier and just beating the pavement and just performing phenomenally in my career. And I'm going, bed at 10 or whatever. It's like, if this was a race, like I'm succeeding a lot, and it's because I'm following the word of wisdom. I believe it's best of my, and I can do better. I could exercise better and different things, but live the word of wisdom. There's truth in it. There's power in it, and it's true. It works. So thank you so much for participating. Again, I'm going to switch over to my screen again. Oh, okay, get the wonderful, double screens of death here. Okay, back to this. So just in closing, thank you if you got this far in this presentation, thank you so much for watching. I do have a second video that will be coming out, which will be explaining more of the tools that I've built for the networking groups that I want to start at BYU Hawaii. I'm not sure if we're going to call them accelerated job search groups or Powerhouse Networking groups. So I don't know, whatever. We're gonna come up with a great acronym and go forward with it. So if you do want to participate in one of those groups, let me know. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, connect up, say, you watch my presentation, whatever it is, if you haven't connected already. I'll get you those other videos. I'd love to have you part of these networking groups. I want to help you guys find success in your career advancement, whatever that is. Whether that's finding a job, an internship, getting a Powerhouse Networking project lined up, getting a job shadow, or just choosing a career path. Let's help you out. Let's get you on the right path, and let's make it happen. So with that, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you guys soon.